throughout the world, and it's used by many people and of all religions and none, and it helps reduce stress and promote healing, and it basically helps your body rebalance itself on a physical, spiritual and mental level. So it's a totally holistic treatment.
Yeah, and is it true to say that like Reiki is a spiritual practice, but it's not a religion in itself? And is it like an alternative therapy, or is it a complementary therapy, or what is it?
It's very much not a religion. People think that because it came from Japan that it's attached to Buddhism, but it's not. It is practiced, like I said, by people of many religions and none. So it's a spiritual practice in that once it becomes a part of your life, you pretty much use it every day. Once you're trained to use it yourself, I would recommend, particularly for practitioners and for people who have done Reiki courses, that they use it. The most important person that they'll use it on is themselves, even if they never used it on anybody else. It basically raises the vibration of your body and improves your immune system and changes the way you think and how you react to situations and stress. So it improves your life on all levels. So in that way it's a spiritual practice, yes.
Yeah, but you're not actually obliged, are you, to do it you can do it, like if you're attuned to, there's different levels of Reiki, Reiki levels you can be attuned to,
yeah.
But you're not obliged to do it like any time. You can be attuned, you don't have to do it again, don't you? Not like.
No, once you're attuned once, that's it. You never have to be attuned again. There's no need. The more often you use the Reiki, the more powerful it becomes. So it's up to you as to what level you want to achieve with it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like, I have a huge interest in Reiki. I'm attuned to Reiki as well. I don't do it that often on myself now, but like, I'd just like to talk about the spirituality of it first, please. Like, a lot of people, the so-called New Age movement gets a lot of stick, like, but Reiki isn't really, you couldn't really describe it as that because it came from like the last century.
Yes,
isn't that right? Like,
that's right, yeah. I mean, it's used in hospices, it's used in hospitals, it's used in schools. I know of people who have taken it into prisons in Dublin to teach and attune prisoners to, I suppose, to help them to become calmer and more mindful of themselves, their behaviour and the effects of that. So yes, it's very much a spiritual practice, but it's not attached to any New Age thing, if you want to put it that way. It's
and I was talking to I know someone who's a priest, a Catholic priest, and his brother does it. But I was talking to another woman. She's not a nun around, but she's very involved in the church at the local level near where I live. And she's totally against it because she heard some bishop in South America or something talking about it. So you probably like, you get a mixed bag of people, yeah?
Very mixed bag. We have an Irish priest called Father Porrick Leonard. He actually is a missionary priest out in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and he has written a book called Reiki for Christians. We had it translated into English from Portuguese, and the foreword is actually written by his bishop to recommend it. So you have one side of very conservative, particularly American priests, who are very much against it because they, again, seem to think that it's a threat to Catholicism or Christianity or whatever, when in fact it has nothing to do with religion at all. So you will get people, yes, who particularly very religious people, who are against it. You also have very religious people who use it. So it's a personal choice and a point of view or an opinion. But it is used, in many places, in hospitals and to help, in nursing homes, and it's to help people. It's not hindering anybody in any way. And could you tell us, like, what is the principle of Reiki? Like what is the energy like that's supposed to come into, like, if you're going for a Reiki healing session for an hour or whatever it is, or just a few minutes someone does on you, like, what's the principle of it? Like, basically what we're doing is taking the universal energy, which is the energy, a pure energy that surrounds every living thing, and we're using that to, we put that into the person's body, and then their body takes over their subconscious mind takes it to wherever it needs to go in the body. So you're not using it's not the practitioner's energy you're using, so you're not getting any of my energy if I was treating you. It's a pure, clear energy, and that is what allows the body to release all the negativity and helps it heal itself.
So, like, if you aren't attuned to Reiki, you couldn't do it yourself, like?
The most efficient way of running the Reiki energy is to be attuned. We're all born with the ability to do it. When we're tiny babies and small children, when we haven't been, I suppose, conditioned to believe that these things aren't possible. So some people will probably naturally still be channeling a certain amount of it, but in order for it to be very powerful and effective, the most efficient way is to go through a Reiki attunement to reopen that energy flow.
I first got interested in Reiki when I was about 19, and it's because my mum saw, I think it was on the Late Late Show over 15 years ago, there were some students on it or something, and they had some machine, I don't know what it was, but it was some like health machine they use in hospitals for analysing something, but it could when they're doing Reiki, it actually came up on the screen that like you could actually see the energy of it. Is that true?
I've never heard of that particular machine, but I do know that it works on people who are in comas, it works on babies, it works on animals, it works on people who are completely oblivious to the fact that you're doing it to them. So on a cellular level, on a subconscious level, the person is pulling that energy in. There are cameras that there's a specific type of photography that can actually, that is where the shutter is fast enough that it can actually photograph the energy coming out of the practitioner's hands. Yes, I have heard of that, but I've never heard of the machine that you're talking about.
Yeah, it could have been that what you're talking about there, I'm not sure. But like, say if you have an illness, like you're diagnosed with cancer or some illness, physical or mental illness, would you or the Reiki Federation recommend not taking those tablets that you're prescribed by your GP or your hospital and just doing Reiki?
No, absolutely not. It's a complementary therapy, so it works alongside conventional medicine. It is one of the, I suppose, golden rules is that you never ever tell somebody to not take their medication. A doctor has a medical doctor has prescribed those. He will not do it unless he thinks you need them. So you would never tell somebody not to take their medication. No, you can work alongside and with, in that it's a complementary therapy. So, for things like broken bones, yes, it can help the side effects of chemotherapy. I have treated many people with cancer, and it reduces the nausea and some of the nastier side effects. It also helps them relax, which allows the healing to occur quicker. So you will get, very profound results from combining Reiki with, whether it's orthopedic surgery, it can speed up healing, and heart surgery as well. It's been proven to speed up healing in heart cases where people have had bypasses by about 30%. So the speed which they recover is 30% quicker than people who have not received a Reiki treatment, a series of Reiki treatments after their surgery.
Yeah, when you're saying there, like I have heard as well from Reiki, a couple of Reiki practitioners and in a couple of Reiki books saying that like there are instances where it helps, like there are even very rare instances where apparently like there doesn't seem to be someone has a disease, an illness, and they get cured from it, and the only attributable thing it could be is Reiki, but don't know for a fact. But I don't know much about that because I got into Reiki when I was about 19, but I didn't have any physical disease or illness. I didn't have any, but I had like emotional things built up like over a few years when I was a teenager, like and like what Reiki has done, it hasn't really had an effect on me physically. I still smoke cigarettes. I used to drink. I'm off that. I think that Reiki helped me get off the drink, but not after going down that road. But like for an emotional, personally for myself, from an emotional and spiritual perspective, it really was a turning point in my life. And but like, it doesn't. Is it true to say that, like, so this is what I find, just because you get into Reiki and you get tuned to this, being able to channel universal life force energy, it doesn't mean that you're going to be on top of the world for the rest of your life. Like, you still are going to come across crises.
Absolutely. What will happen is that it just allows you to handle them maybe better than you would have done before. So it strengthens your inner core of who you are. So on an emotional level, you will have changed. And yes, a lot of people, some people stop smoking after doing Reiki courses, some people stop drinking, some people stop overeating. And for other people, there's very little change. It just depends very much on yourself. You tend to find it when you need it most. And that's why it works on all levels, so it works on the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual body. So if your need is more emotional than physical, well, then it'll help the emotional first. You know, the energy has an intelligence; it knows where to go, and each individual is completely different. No two people are going to react in the same way to a treatment. So there's and you can never offer a cure. That's the other thing. The only person who can ever offer a cure is a doctor. You know.
And is it true, this is not like a golden, maybe it is a golden rule, but you're not supposed to drink alcohol. If you go for a treatment on a Monday, say, for a few days, as the Reiki is kind of having an effect going through your body, you're not supposed to drink alcohol. Because I did when I was doing Reiki. It's
not a golden rule at all. You would never, as a practitioner, you would never drink if you were either teaching or treating somebody, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a glass of wine after your dinner. Do you know what I mean? If you're the same for if you're going on a course. No, I mean, if you're out on a Friday night and your course is on Saturday, well, then that's fine as long as you're reasonably clear-headed. You know, there's lots of myths, let's say, around things like, you know, all Reiki practitioners are vegetarians. Or they don't drink or whatever. You know, each person is an individual and they will adapt their life as they see fit for them. You know. Yeah,
no, I don't mean, like, obviously I know a glass of wine is I'm sure that'd be okay, but like in our culture, like there is, particularly amongst my generation and younger, there's a binge culture, like, yes. So it's not exactly kind of.
It wouldn't be ideal, no, to arrive having had a skinful the night before.
No, but like, so say if you go home a few hours later and then drink 10 pints, that's not a good idea, is it?
That wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
On any day. You might find that you probably just wouldn't feel like it afterwards, because usually the first day after you've done a course, you're actually really tired. There's a lot of information to be taken in, and a lot of people find that they just literally want to go home, put their feet up. And yes, you know, you can have. I'm not saying don't have 10 pints, but I mean, if you normally drink 10 pints, well then that's. You know, it's your choice. There's no hard and fast rule.
What I found with Reiki, I was said to, I was about 19, I got into it. I went to classes in Liberty's College, night classes. I think it was 2 hours a week for 8 weeks or something. This is the lady that was doing the classes on us, she did about 2 minutes Reiki on us the first night. And she did it on every day over the class. She did a couple of minutes on us each night, so it wasn't like a full session.
Yeah.
But I found after the first or second week, like, it brought up all this kind of suppressed emotion and really suppressed emotion. And for a few weeks, like, I was going through hell, like. And I can look back on it now, and I kind of see kind of see the kind of relativity of it.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, I was going through hell. But what did was see, I used to, when I was a teenager, for about 3 or 4 years, I smoked cannabis. I didn't smoke all the time, but I smoked regularly enough, even in school, like, and drank on the weekends, and I did ecstasy every weekend for about a year. So I had all this, like, I wasn't taking these drugs as escapism to get away from my emotions, but the effect of them was I was suppressing my emotions without realising it. So I had all these I had like 3 or 4 years of kind of emotions that I hadn't really acknowledged or dealt with, and they came up, and it was very extremely painful, like. But like, if it wasn't for the Reiki, like I attribute my recovery when I was 19 to, it wasn't just the Reiki. The Reiki was probably the biggest part, but there was also counselling and a couple of books, spirituality books and all this kind of stuff. But what I found was that, like, after I got over the initial shock of all these emotions starting to come up, and that took a day or two or a few days, I'm not sure, I started to look back on my life, particularly just a few years before then, and remember things that I've forgotten. You hear it said, if you're into spirituality, the best moments of your life are the simple moments, and you don't appreciate them until afterwards. Well, it was the Reiki that reminded me, and like, there's probably since I've looking back on my life, I've probably all the significant and the simpler moments, all the kind of moments, I've looked at them because of Reiki from all different sides. Instead of just going through life and having one outlook on life and one kind of analysis, whatever, I've looked back on my life, and I still do it today. I don't try not to think incessantly around it, but I've looked back and I've seen situations, big and small, from different situations, and it's really given me a totally broader perspective than I would have had normally. Do you know
I understand exactly what you're saying. What happens when you do a Reiki course is that you are, sometimes it's called a 21-day cleansing. So they say that it takes 3 days to clear every chakra. You've got 7 major chakras. Each one is attached to an emotional way of being, as well as your endocrine system. And as you clear those memories, feelings, hurt, so some people would get cold and flu symptoms, some people would become emotional, some people get angry, some people remember things like you did, but what it's doing is it's getting rid of all of the old stuff and allowing new things to come in, and it makes you look at things differently. You see things clearer. So it happens a lot after classes. People will get tummy upsets, chest infections, and it's just stuff clearing out of different areas of their body, and mind and emotions. So it's very, very common. And I mean, I know when I started doing Reiki, I found it through, I had 3 car crashes in the space of 18 months, and it was basically because my life was full of stress, and I wasn't paying attention to the signals that were telling me to stop and slow down and change. And if you don't basically slow down and change, something will make you slow down, and it did, and it was whiplash. So it would have changed my life completely as well, and that was back in 2007. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a very gentle but powerful thing, and people often don't realise how powerful it actually is. It's only when you have a response, say like yours, and it releases all of that stuff that was trapped there, that you realise that you need to change, that you need to change the way you live your life. So yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, how I would describe it is the second week in the Reiki class, a woman said that after doing the Reiki on her a couple of weeks beforehand, she has kind of knots in her stomach, and that's the way I describe it. Like, and I didn't know what they were, like, and I was extremely it wasn't like painfully, it wasn't hurting my brain, but it was hurting me emotionally. But I'm glad that's over with anyway. Like, I live life one day at a time. But what was I going to say? Yeah, talking about spirituality, go down that avenue of having a big debate, like, or big talk about spirituality. But we're not here today to talk about like total in-depth spirituality. I want an overview for our listeners who don't know Reiki, please, because like I've only heard of you recently. Just in a minute or two, or take 2 minutes, give us an overview of who are Reiki Foundation, because like I don't know how many Reiki practitioners there are in Ireland, but I don't know like if they're all registered with you, or what's the story like.
Okay, well, not all Reiki practitioners are registered with us. It's a choice that you have. Federation was, and it's there to support Reiki practitioners and Reiki people. And we are, I suppose, a national representative body of Reiki in Ireland. We're one of them. And we would have...
Are there any other ones?
There is the Reiki Association of Ireland. I think they're based in Cork. And we would have maybe over 200 members. They're not all professional members, but a lot of them are. And we were...
What's the difference between being a professional member and not?
A professional member is somebody who is practicing professionally or who's teaching. You have other people who are attuned, say like yourself, but don't want to teach or don't want to practice. So they can be an associate member. They don't have to pay the full membership fee, but they still are a member of the Reiki Federation, and they get to go to our sort of social outings and other stuff that they can come to the AGM, and they have an input into the organisation. It's a voluntary organisation, so it's a voluntary committee, and basically our purpose is to bring awareness to the general public about Reiki, what it is. Originally was to raise the standards of teaching and practice, so that everybody, when you book a Reiki treatment, that you should be getting a certain standard of treatment, so that the people who are treating you, who are teaching you, are teaching to, I suppose, guidelines, which would be for the highest purpose of the student and the client. And I suppose we provide a list of professional Reiki practitioners. So on our website, you'll have a list of practitioners and teachers by area, by county and by area. We also do sort of promotional work in the Mind, Body and Spirit show in the RDS. Coming up this weekend, we're doing the Women's Way exhibition in the centre of town. We were at the Tullamore show. I'm trying to think.
Which Tullamore show?
The Tullamore show that down in, I think it was in Offaly, or in Laois. The farm, the big farm exhibition. There's 60,000 people there. We took a stand basically.
Ploughing Championships.
The Ploughing Championships is next year. It's this coming month. But no, this was in August, and they were absolutely run off their feet. They were treating people from all over the country, and some who'd never had Reiki before. So, we do a lot of that kind of thing. We also work with the ARC Cancer Support, and that's also coming up this weekend, and that's in the Aviva Stadium. We would take a stand at that, and we would help give mini treatments to cancer survivors and their relatives and that kind of thing. So, we're kind of out there trying to promote Reiki so that people can see the benefits of it.
Okay, that's great, Gillian. Just to find out, if people want to go to a Reiki session, or if people want to have some Reiki on them, because I think it's a fascinating thing. I know a lot of people who've never gone to a full session, but I've done a bit of Reiki on them, or they've got Reiki done somewhere else, and they love it. What would you recommend for people who are interested or curious?
Well, if they want to go onto the Reiki Federation website, it's www.reikifederationireland.com, and there's a section on the website which says find a practitioner, and if you look by area, there's North Dublin, South Dublin, Wicklow, West Dublin, there's, and then all the other counties in Ireland. All the registered practitioners are listed there, and they can basically, there's websites, phone numbers and whatever, they can pick whoever they like there from that list. That would be what I would recommend. Yeah,
and I just give my personal opinion. Reiki sessions, like all complementary therapies, they're most of them are not cheap. So as I said, when I went to Liberty's College, I went to a few night classes about Reiki, and she didn't actually attune us to the Reiki, but she did Reiki on us every night for a couple of minutes each, about 10, 15 in the class.
Yeah. And
she talked about Reiki and kind of what we were going through, kind of generally. But and then I got attuned by her. Her name was Olivia San Joanne. I don't know if you know her. But I personally, me and my mum got tuned by her in her apartment. Then a few weeks later, with another woman, and so you can always go to Reiki classes.
Absolutely, there's two ways of experiencing Reiki. Reiki you can go to a Reiki class and you can learn it for yourself, and then you have it always for yourself. You know, you never need to be attuned again. When I have gatherings, I have a meeting for my students sort of once a month. I would often reattune them, but it's for the pleasure of the experience rather than that they actually need it, and it gives them a bit of a boost. But and then the other way to experience is to go to a Reiki practitioner and have a treatment, but you'll never be able to do Reiki on yourself afterwards. You know, so it'll stay in your body for a couple of days afterwards, but you won't have it to pass on to others or to use on yourself.
Yeah, the classes I went to, she didn't actually, even though they cost about over €100 to go, this is 15 or more years ago, but she didn't actually attune us to it, she just did it on us. And then there's one woman I remember in the class the first day, she was a bit confused because she thought that she'd be able to do Reiki at the end of the classes.
Well, normally that's what would happen. I mean, when I taught last weekend, and at the end of the weekend I would give out a certificate to say that this person has been attuned to Reiki level 1. Different people teach in different ways, so that's, but if I was going to a night course in Reiki and doing a Reiki level 1, I would expect to be attuned as well. That would be what I would expect. And I suppose that's where the Reiki Federation comes in a way, is that there are specific teaching guidelines for each level. And one of the things would be that you would be, if you're paying for a Reiki level 1 course, that you are actually attuned to Reiki level 1.
Yeah, I think this is just general Reiki kind of information class I went to.
That's the difference then.
Okay, Gillian, that's great. Could you just give us out your the website name, please?
My own personal website?
I think you have your own personal website. No, you're a Reiki practitioner.
Federation.
You give your own if you want, and your own personal Reiki website and the Reiki Federation, please.
The Reiki Federation website is www.reikifederationireland.com, and there's a phone number there to contact the membership secretary if anybody has any queries. My website is reikiforthesoul.com, and that's who I am. But no, this is more about the Reiki Federation than it is about me.
Okay, Gillian, that's great. It's great talking to you here over in Bray, in the cafe in Bray. I'm talking to you at some stage, right? Thanks.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.